Views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of the Your Gray Matters podcast. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The Your Gray Matters podcast name and all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. Hi, everybody. I'm Neil Silver from Your Gray Matters podcast. I am so thrilled to have you here today. As you know, our podcasts explore solutions, very cool ideas that are being used all the time to help people to find and to reach their own dreams and goals. When I first got into real estate investing, there was something that was troubling me. As you all know, I'm a mortgage broker, but that came from becoming a real estate investor. I was curious about it, but I was hesitant because I just don't fix toilets. I don't know how to have a tenant, and I just didn't want to go that way. And lo and behold, before I knew it, I was introduced to what's called passive fixed rate investing. Investments sitting in real estate that have a fixed rate, but they're passive. The income in my case comes every single month, but I don't have to visit with people. I don't have to worry about broken pipes. So it's a different kind of wealth that you can achieve through passive fixed incomes. We really love it. I have to tell you guys, it's just terrific. I'm very excited today because I have a colleague of mine coming on. His name is Michael Xia. He actually, in full information, he invests some of my money and he does extremely well. I love the way it's done, and I'm only going to bring you things that I believe in. I can't guarantee you that everyone will win, but in this case, I'm really excited to introduce you to Michael Xia. Michael is the president and the investment officer of a company called HRU. And I'm going to ask Michael to say hello. And Michael, welcome to the Your Gray Matters pod. We're really glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Neil. I'm glad to be here. And hi, everyone. Again, like Neil said, my name is Michael. I do run a real estate investment firm. Now, as Neil say, real estate is something that most people would love to be interested to invest in lately, and I'm very glad I'm here to talk about it.
Yes, and thank you, Michael. You know, everybody, I said something that might have caught you off guard, so let me say it again. I learned how to invest like the wealthy. You know, I learned all those years ago, it's not that people don't want a piece of the pie. They don't even know that there is a pie. Quite often people will go to their bank, and if the bank doesn't give them what they want, or if the stock market doesn't make them comfortable, they feel like they don't know what to do. But today, Michael and I are going to talk to you about an organized way of growing great returns on your money. But at the same time, it's highly regulated. There are Ontario government rules to this. Michael is fully licensed to do this, has great experience. And Michael, why don't you tell us about the investing world right now? What do you see that people are doing these days?
So it's very interesting you asked me. So just a little background. So I used to work for the banks, and I was in private wealth. So I worked very close with the wealthy people, as you say. Now, what has been happening in the last hundreds of years, even 60 years, 20 years, is the ultra wealthy or even the wealthy people, they will invest in things that generate income. It's all about cash flow. And this is a fact and the truth that never change. though the world is changing, as you might notice lately, there has been technology advancements, stock markets, interest rate rises. There are many things that are happening in the financial world. But one thing that hasn't changed is the wealthy is still accumulating wealth by acquiring assets that can generate income. And when I say asset, in this case, specifically are real estates.
Yes, understood. Real estate certainly is important. As they always say, that we're not making any more of it, but we're also making great use of it. So it's good. And we really are in an interesting world right now. The economy has gone through many changes. We've been through the pandemic. Educational systems have changed on financing rules have changed. But again, as I said earlier, Michael, what happens if you go to the bank or you find that the stock market, and these are not negative comments about anybody, ladies and gentlemen, at all. This is just an alternative. But if the stock market isn't for you or the banks don't give you what you want, what do you do? I guess I've heard that you do what we call alternative investments. Tell us a bit about alternative investments, how they work, and what maybe the expectation could be for that.
Right. So alternative investments in Canada, there's another word for it in the state, which is called private equity. So alternative investment are investment outside the scope of your daily investment activities. So instead of going to your local branch of any bank of your choosing, there are certain investment firms outside the bank that helps and guides investors into investing into things that are non-traditional. When I say traditional, I mean like mutual funds, I mean like stocks or even GICs. There's no problem, as you say, there's nothing to put them down for, but they're the traditional investment vehicle that has existed for a very long time, and they had their good runs. But as of today, these are not the best investment vehicles for people to be putting their money in. As the world shifts every day, there are more opportunities or knowledge to be understood for people to realize that investment world has changed. There are other opportunities and options for people to choose from. And this is the thing about the new world is many people don't know. And the banks are definitely not going to advertise something that's going to compete with their existing product. So for example, for us, as Neil mentioned, I run a company called HRU. So we're what we call a mortgage investment corporation, or a MIC. So we generate consistent income through mortgages. There are other alternatives such as REITs, or real estate investment trusts. They generate real estate income through rents on a monthly basis through buying rental properties. There are also other opportunities arise. There is definitely a trend of securitization around the real estate market, so that there is more options for people to choose from.
That's terrific. Michael, just based on, just so that we can manage expectation and for people to understand a little more, when I first came up with these private equity opportunities, I thought I already had to be a millionaire. And I'm just wondering how that works. And not only that, is it cash only, or can I use my RRSP as a question I get quite often, or TFSA? So maybe comment on all that stuff for us, please.
Of course. So first of all, it was very likely, as you say, about 20 years ago, most of these opportunities are only open for the wealthy. And that's how they were able to accumulate such a great wealth, massive in the money market. About 20 years ago, as the Securities Commission and the Financial Service Regulators of Canada start opening this up to our daily customers and the retail clients, their rules and qualifications started lowering down. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to be a millionaire to invest. Now, obviously, the original rules that qualifies the people with wealth still exist. But as of today, everybody can invest. It just, you have to go through a process of regulated KYC, as they call know your client rules. If you go to a bank and you buy a mutual fund or any type of investment, they will still go through the same process. It just, they have different rules. Now, anybody can invest. It just, they have limitations to how much they invest. I wouldn't go into the detail of this because it's quite a tedious role to go through every single terms. But all everyone has to know is everyone can invest, and it's fairly easy these days.
And this is great to know, because suffice it to say, there are all kinds of ways to invest your money, but what drew me to this type of investing, and surely why I like working with you very much, is because you really do follow the rules. Ladies and gentlemen, there are rules and regulations and a process that will help you and the investment company know what you qualify for, how much you can invest, what your own needs are. Maybe you're very risky in your thinking process, but maybe you're not looking for risk at all. There's a way to learn how to measure what we call the risk reward ratio so that you know what you can expect. And it's very organized for you. It's really something special because you can't just throw your money in. And I've
Yeah.
always loved that process. And I know for my bride and I, when we got involved, I was very pleased with the process that caused me to do some thinking, and Linda, but it also very much allowed us to fully understand what's happening. And Michael, the Ontario Securities Commission has been a regulator. If you're a MIC, Financial Services Ontario is involved, FISRA. So these are serious regulators that have given us the rules and the guidelines. And I think it's good for people. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I mean, for the mix very specifically, because we involve two part of the business. The first part of the business is the security side, which is raising the money,
Yep.
like term deposit, and the second part is lending out the more money into mortgages, residential houses, people who's buying homes. Now, both sides of the regulator applies, and they strictly enforces the Mortgage Act and the Securities Act to make sure that all MICs qualify
Yep.
and maintains their compliance.
And that totally makes sense to me. So there is a process that certainly allows people to understand what's happening, understanding the product itself, perhaps what you do with the money. I'm sure that they fully understand, and you may want to touch on that. But then at the end of the day, they have time where they can think about it. There's no pressure. I always tell people if someone's trying to pressure you, you should run the other way as fast as you can, period. It's
Right.
not even legal to be pressured, by the way. There's even a period of time where you can change your mind in this province. But I think the great thing is that education is never wasted. And there are lots of people doing alternative investments. I asked Michael to come on today because he's very trusted. And we could certainly set up for you to have a discussion with Michael if you would like. And we'll talk about how to do that in a few minutes. I'm wondering, Michael, if you have any advice for investors or you have any other thoughts for how they might think deeper about what can be done nowadays.
Yes. So there's several advice I will give to people. The first thing is always question an investment opportunity when it's presented. As Neil, like you said, so never feel pressured. If someone is pressuring you into an investment, probably not a good idea, especially if you don't understand what you're investing in. So always do the research and understand what you're investing in. If the person that's asking you to invest do not explain clearly what you're getting into, and if you don't understand and you are having trouble sleeping at night, then it's definitely not something you want to do.
Yes.
And the last one is, now this is a question I get from a lot of people is, how do I know you're not going to take my money and run away? And that is the biggest concern for a lot of investors, because you're no longer working with a bank. They were worried. Where is my money? How is it doing? Where is it? Where it's going? So always make sure that they're using even though the investment is now from the bank, but they're using a bank trustee to hold the funds, so that you have access to all the legal records and banking information of where your money is. So, for example, for us, we do register account, RSPs, TFSAs. We use Olympia Trust as a trust bank. So this way, everybody has access to it.
But at the same time, you're not holding the money. You're never really accessing it directly from the client ever.
No, so as an investment firm, we should never actually access the funds. We're only a manager of the funds to make sure it's invested properly, to generate the good returns and a consistent return, and to manage risk, to make sure the clients are taken care of. the money should always be held in a trust bank or a trust account by the lawyer. So make sure that there's no one who's just going to walk in and take the money and go away.
That's right. And Michael, might you tell me with your own company, how are you with reporting? I invest my money. How often are you communicating with me? What should people expect from these kind of investments?
Yes. So for alternative investments, it's different. For us at HRU, we do monthly reporting and annual reporting. So for the monthly reporting, we actually offer our client online banking type of service. They can log in, they can check all their documents, investment flows, returns, everything's online. Everything's is generated on a proper report, if you like. Now it's different for every investment. Some of them do quarterly, some of them do annually only.
Okay. But definitely there's communication
For
and
sure.
it's, of course, accessibility. I know when we call your company or email you or your team, we can get you. And ladies and gentlemen, that is really, really critical. That's why I said right at the start, if anything in your gut tells you that you can't sleep, then you have to put more thought into this and decide whether you want to do it or not. Michael, so you get the money, the investment, but where's the investment actually going? If you don't mind, could you give me an idea of what you do?
Yes. So I run the portfolio risk side of the investment that comes to here. Now, as a MIC, all the money we intake are specifically for residential mortgages only.
Okay.
No, we cannot invest the money into anything else. And this is regulation and is audited every year. The money that comes to us goes into a trust account, and the trust account will direct money into individual residential mortgages. Every mortgage has to follow certain underwriting guidelines, which are very similar to what the bank does. They underwrite each mortgage to make sure the risk level qualifies. When I say residential mortgages, it means for people who are buying homes, who are buying and selling, needing a bridge loans. We cannot invest in a land or a commercial building that's for residential purpose. It's specifically for people who are living in that particular property.
Wow, that's terrific. So, ladies and gentlemen, we wanted to give you one example of a terrific opportunity, but much more importantly, what Michael and I wanted you to know is that there are different ways to invest. They can bring you a greater return than perhaps you're used to. You've never heard any Michael or I ever use the word guaranteed, so you want to understand what that means, what the reward is, what the risk is. I've said it a few times on purpose, but I must tell you that as a client of this company, I'm very, very happy. And as someone who speaks candidly about these alternative investments, I have to tell you, it's certainly an area that you should explore. And to do that, you can simply email your Gray Matters Pod at gmail.com, your Gray Matters Pod at gmail.com, and just put in the subject line information on alternative investments. So if you can do that, we will make sure that we direct you to Michael. Michael, I want to thank you very much for coming on today. You've done a great job. I appreciate you helping us educate that there are solutions, there are opportunities. And ladies and gentlemen, as I said, you do want a piece of the pie, but better news is there is a pie. And we'd like to tell you more about it. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.